out. So melting furnace, reheating furnace. We'll get to the reheating furnace in a little bit. Melting furnace, they both sit at about 2200 degrees Fahrenheit, about 1200 Celsius. Melting furnace holds the material. That's clear molten glass. And I wanted to show you what happens when we stop turning it. It wants to fall onto the stage floor. That's a different demonstration entirely. We're going to try to avoid that over the next 15 to 20 minutes. No guarantees though. Alana's going to make all this look really easy. And some of you have, again, seen a little bit of that recently, but there's a lot going on when you start gathering glass out of the furnace on the end of the stick. So that dark orange glow that you see is actually the head of the blowpipe glowing. We need to get all that material off the head of the blowpipe. And the next step is to fill it with air. So a little puff of air in the back, the mouthpiece in, tap it with your toe, keep your eye together, 3, 2, 1. There it goes. Right. Whoa, that's exactly how it happens, right there. You got to watch it happen. Not a lot of pressure, and if you wait too long, if you let it get too cold, it doesn't work. But to keep the pipe turning at the right rate too. You saw what happened when you stopped turning it. If you let it fall off center, if it's not straight when you go into it, the air is going to go straight no matter what. Blow up, look like a sock. And this is our mother bubble, or starter bubble, either one. And again, something to keep in mind, this is how the work in the exhibition was made. That's the whole idea. That's why this 1967 airstream was sitting right in the middle of the art closet. Shows you folks how to make it Chihuli. Well, we're not going to make it Chihuli, but the steps are the same. And you might notice we'll lose most of that orange glow. Now it's kind of starting to look like clear glass. Sounds like glass. And in order to get the scale and size that we want to show you guys, similar to the pieces that you see on the stage, we need more material. We need another gather. So we got to let it get cold, and that's a relative term up here. It's still about 1,000 degrees. But that's cold enough to gather more material. And you can kind of imagine what we have inside of our furnace here. On the bottom half of the chamber, there sits a crucible with giant ceramic holes that holds all this molten glass. You can sort of envision a salad bowl full of honey. That's kind of what it looks like. The bottom half of the chamber, the top half is the combustion system. You might be able to hear that burner blowing in, keeping it hot. So the quickest way to get a little color, a little pattern into your vessel is to roll your fresh gather in frit. F-R-I-T, it's crushed up glass. Alana has chosen a mustard yellow and a lapis blue, both opaque colors. The frit is about the size of real coarse sand. It's small enough that watching that happen too, it's sticking right to the outer surface of that gather. Instantly sticks to it. Doesn't melt in all the way. You can kind of see what we're trying to show you. It's still sort of raised up, kind of like sprinkles on a cupcake. And so that's where the reheating furnace comes into play. So we call it the glory hole. It takes about an hour to get up to that 2,200 degrees Fahrenheit. So we come in about an hour before we start the show. Light up the glory hole, pull the pieces out from the previous day's demonstration, gives you folks an idea of what we're making while we're making it. And what the frit gives you is the spots and the dots and the speckles and some of the swirls that you see throughout the exhibition. It's a good visual right here, a second coat of that different color, of that lapis. Just covering up that mustard color. Then we have 3 layers. We have clear with mustard over it, and then the lapis blue over that.
And that's it.
And that's it for the frit. Depending on how dense you want your color to be, you can simply keep adding more and more layer after layer. Or you guys have together. We can do that for an hour and a half, but Alana likes this density, so we're going to stick with that. We're going to sit at the bench, start using some of the hand tools. There's still a bubble in there, but it gets a little constricted, and our gather gets a little misshapen. So we're going to get it hot, sit down, use the block. Again, this is a nice round shape. This is the shape we want to get before we start making our piece. Got to get it as hot as we possibly can. We want it hot all the way through before we start inflating it and making our piece. You might be able to see some of the steam and the smoke coming off of this block. That's a good indicator of how hot this is. Another little cup. Start to fill that out a little. Going to cool the tip of our bubble on our marber. This steel top table is called a marber. We're going to cool the tip. And the tip of the bubble is the bottom of the piece. So we need to cool it down. It actually makes it thicker down there. Rolling your hot bubble on the steel table removes the heat pretty rapidly. Allows us to have a little bit of thickness down there. There's a little bit extra material on that bottom. That's going to come in handy when we're finished with the piece that sits on the table real nice. I'm going to heat up the blades of the jacks. Because I need to put some beeswax on. I need to coat the blades with beeswax so that they'll glide along this bubble. Alon's going to show you what I mean in about a minute or so. I'm going to stand by and help out a bit more actively. I have what we call the pocket puffer. This is the COVID way to blow that. Historically, I could be down here blowing in the pipe, but you don't do it like that, right?
Blow pop.
Alon's using the newspaper to carve into that bubble, instantly creating a neck and a body for a vessel. Using the blades and the jacks here to size a line right off of the head of the blowpipe, and that's where we're going to break it off of the blowpipe when the time comes. That's going to be the lip, or the opening of our vessel. We refer to the opening as the lip. So that's this part right here. We need to constrict it down to about the diameter of a quarter, and it's going to break off nice and easy when the time comes. And then a lot just happened there. We carved in there your thumb and your forefinger with quite possibly the most technologically advanced tool on the day. This is the folded up newspaper. It needs a little help here, so I'm going to put that there. But that's all that is. Keep it nice and wet. It makes a real nice pad to get it between the bubble and your hand. Allows you to form and shape without actually touching it, but getting pretty close. Another little puff. Get it hot, hang it down if you want to ball it. You get it hot, hang it down.
Blow a little bit heat.
Blow it.
Ah. Good.
You like it?
I like it.
Okay, we're ready for the next step. This is the tricky part. We need to transfer this piece from the blowpipe to a solid steel rod. It's called a punty, P-U-N-T-Y. So I got a punty in my hand. I'm going to heat up the end of it, take a gather on it, shape it up, form it up sort of like a Q-tip off heating. I'm going to present it to Alon in such a way that we can attach it to the very center, the very bottom of the piece, and we're going to break it off the blowpipe, effectively flipping it around so we can access that opening, start working on the lip. So while I do that, Alon is just going to stay, fine-tune the shape and then keep it warm. And if either one of us is too cold, this next move, when we go to break it off with the blowpipe, it doesn't stick. Piece comes crashing to the floor. The crowd goes crazy. Ah, do it again, that kind of thing. We try to avoid that. And if either one of us is too hot, it doesn't come off at the end when we want it to. So, this is not a guaranteed move. If this works, feel free to give Alon a big old round of applause.
You haven't done it yet, but.
Okay. We like it up to this point. Here we go. So that goes there. We want to make sure that the glass off the end of the punty is on the very center, the very bottom of the piece, so that the blowpipe and the punty rod are turning at the same rate. Little drop of water on that neck. Light tap. Comes right on. There we go. It works. It works. So far, so good. I'm going to get the whole piece a little bit of heat here. Only going to get hot enough to move at that connection. Give them on one last chance to make sure that the glass off the end of the punty is in the very center, the very bottom of the piece, so that it doesn't look like it's spinning when it's turning, if that makes sense. I like to sort of equate it with clay on a wheel. If anybody out there's ever thrown a pot, same idea.
Alright, let's put a lip wrap on it.
Lip wrap. Oh, you got it nice.
Dealer's choice.
Ooh, surprise color lip wrap. Okay. So we have either the mustard or the lapis. And a lip wrap is this, just like this blue around the opening of this piece. The little stripe that we're going to add.
It's good.
It's a pretty common feature in a lot of the working exhibition. Most of the vessel-oriented pieces have a lip wrap on them. All the baskets in the Northwestern, the maki, again, those huge fluted bowls in Gallery 8 in the forest there. Show you how they do that. I need to gather some clear. Roll this in the mystery color. Meanwhile, Alana's going to sit down and address this opening. It's as cold as it's ever been. It's broken glass. We just broke it off with a blowpipe. It tends to be sharp and a bit thicker up there. So we've got a little heat again. You can kind of see the glowing. Good sign that it's hot enough to do something with. We have some tweezers. Pull that out, get a little more height out of the glass, out of our piece. And then glass cutting scissors. You can cut hot glass with scissors. Here's it goes, right here. Trim that nice and straight across. As long as your bottom is flat and your punch is on center, you cut that nice and straight across. Then you're on your way to having a nice symmetrical piece. That's what we're looking for with this particular item. So what I have gathered up, essentially a mustard bit that we're going to wrap around this opening. So I'm going to sit down one more time and make sure that that opening is the right size and the right temperature. And then I'm going to bring this over. I'm going to get this as hot as I possibly can. This needs to be molten. The lip wrap bit has to be up around that couple thousand degree mark so it's closed. Wrap it around there. Well, I get kind of tapered, and then I'm just going to hang out here until Alana tells me we're ready. We'll wrap it around, open it, take it out.
Alright, let's do it.
Okay. So here we go. Alright. Nice hot bit. Press it on that lip, turn away from you. Take as much or as little as you want. Leave the rest for you guys, because now I go like this. I got a little bit of material, a little bit of heat left here. I can show you a pretty unique property of this material. A bit out of that. Now this part kind of broke off here, but it's cooled down enough I can touch it with my fingers. You guys can touch it too, you're not allowed to. But you could, it's cooled down that fast, less than a minute. That's room temperature. I find that part fascinating. So I'm going to put this off to the side here for now. It's still quite hot up on the where it's connected to the pipe, and then I'm going to make sure that that lip is nice and flat on top. A little more beeswax on the blades. If the blades of the jacks aren't hot or waxy enough, they tend to scratch and bind up on the hot glass. So as long as we use those blades on the outside, on the inside, finish off our form. We have the ability to inflate this. As long as that opening doesn't get any wider than the back side of our cone. Fill that up, actually inflate it a little bit more. Alana generally likes to do that. Let's see if we're going to work towards that this time. I'm just going to stand by with the paddle. It's only going to move where it's hot enough to move. So you control where you want it to move by how deep you heat it inside the furnace. That kind of thing. Here comes a little puff. Real subtle, but it gets bigger. Gets us closer to our shape without having to run the risk of scratching it up with the blades of the jack. All right, I'll open it up. All right, I'm going to fire it open now. That means more beeswax. Like you you see any flames, that's going to be from the beeswax or the paddle catches on fire too. And then once we're done with this shape, once Alana decides that we like the final shape, there's one more piece of equipment that we need to use. This unit right here is called the annealing oven. We're going to gently load this piece into the annealing oven. And the last thing we do before we leave today will be to put the annealing oven on a program. Cools everything down from 950 down to about 150 degrees Fahrenheit over about a 12-hour period of time, so essentially overnight. Come in tomorrow, pull the pieces out, light up the furnaces. This piece will be sitting on the table tomorrow for the folks to come to the show. And then there you go.
Okay.
Looking good. I like it. We still got to get it off of there safely. So just like when we took it off of the blowpipe, we use a little bit of water. Not that connection. We also want to make sure it's the right temperature. If it's too hot, it's going to slump. If it's too cold, if it gets too cold at any time during the process, trust me on this part, it doesn't care how long you've been working on it. It's going to fall on the floor. You ever seen that happen before?
I have, yeah.
We've all seen that happen before. Okay? Okay. So I got my loading stick, which is a stick. A little drop of water. We want to create a weak spot right there. And then an ever so slight tap right there. A little sharp down there. Take a minute. And melt away any sharp bits with our clock torch. We'll cut our little fingers in one. Beautiful face by Alana. Nice job, Alana. Put you in there, and we will see you in the morning. Well, folks, I hope you enjoyed our little show. We'll have an added for you. Real quick, the community work on all the work that we make at the stadium, the space deal, and all the proceeds go towards local art organizations throughout the Pacific Northwest. 2019, we raised over $500,000 for the local scene. A lot of programs for kids, for the youth, in basic art, creating big on our list.
Ну что, надеюсь, вам понравилось это видео. Подписывайтесь на канал, ставьте лайк. Вот такая была презентация в музее Чихули. Вот я. Всем привет. Я уже показывала это видео Чихули, но сегодня солнечный день и очень красиво. Смотрите, какая красивая веранда здесь. И Space Needle. На полный обзор этого музея я поставлю линк в описании к этому видео. Вот такое прекрасное кафе. Всем пока-пока. С вами была Ксения Кион и мой влог из Америки.